In the birth of the nation, there are many lessons, but let me give you three. First, the Declaration of Independence itself, as a printed document, signals to us that America wrote itself into existence by articulating the grievances of a people and giving political legitimacy to an act of civil disobedience. That is true. Another lesson that we can take from the founding is that if viewed together, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States are the yin to each other's yang. The former, the Declaration, dissolved the political bonds with England, and yet the latter sought to, quote, form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. The Declaration is a document of dissent. The Constitution is a document of consent. They embody the central tension of American political culture. On the one hand, the impulse to speak truth to power, to speak up when things are wrong, and on the other hand, to submit or to play along to checks and balances and the rule of law. Both of these things are part of our political DNA. The third lesson I want to mention from the founding is that embedded in the Constitution, that essentially conservative, pretty conservative document, is another engine of resistance. If you look in the Bill of Rights, you see a nook and cranny of resistance, and that is in the First Amendment, which reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. 5 freedoms: religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition, without which neither the Constitution or American democracy would have lasted very long. But that's not the whole story. Because the founding was more complicated than even what I've described, America is definitely a protest nation. I've written widely about that, and I will defend that to my death. But the birth and life of this nation has also been founded on the colonial settlement of indigenous lands and the callous slaughter of indigenous peoples, the wholesale enslavement and then pervasive segregation of black people, and the sustained subjugation of women and workers, immigrants and queer folks, the disabled, and a stunningly diverse array of others. And so when we think about America, the founding down to the present day, I think it helps for us to think about notions of progress and prejudice as constituting a paradox of progress. Even in these moments of revolutionary manifestation, these moments of progressive advances, the new birth of freedom, the Great Society, the New Deal, the bridge to the 21st century, hope and change, the revolution itself. These inflection points of progress, where it seems like freedom and equality and rights are moving in the right direction, often come with realities that are far less progressive, even violent and mortal for those who are subjected as the victims to these things. That is why I assign, in addition to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence, readings from the working men's movement in the 1820s and the abolitionist movement in the 1830s and the women's rights movement of the 1840s, among others. These 3 movements are just 3 movements for freedom, equality, and rights in the face of pervasive unfreedoms and inequalities based on class and race and gender that emerged between the founding and the American Revolution and the Civil War and Reconstruction. In these examples, we can see how ordinary people, representing every color, creed, class, and circumstance, built extraordinary movements for social change. And so on that syllabus are powerful founding documents and also protest documents that speak to one another somehow. These radicals, these reformers, these revolutionaries after the founding, after the revolution, understood that that was an incomplete revolution, that those were only claims, that they were not realities, that they were elusive, these were dreams deferred. They understood that, but they used that language. They went to those claims. They reappropriated and even in some cases rewrote those documents as manifestos and templates and texts for resistance and advocacy and new kinds of revolutions. A number of years ago, I began keeping a list, and it's now a fairly long list, of the things that we owe to these kinds of people: radicals, reformers, revolutionaries. And I'll just list some of them for you. American Revolution, the abolition of slavery, public education, universal suffrage, public parks, integration, coeducation, freedom of speech and assembly, civil liberties, the 8-hour workday, the weekend, the minimum wage, the living wage, child and prison labor laws, health and safety standards, reproductive choice, same-sex partner benefits, transition surgery, blues, jazz, rock and roll, hip-hop, unemployment insurance, AIDS research, breast cancer treatments, the right to a fair trial, public health clinics, Head Start programs, immigrant rights, police, community policing, collective bargaining, affirmative action, wildlife reserves, clean air and water, the living wage, again, I'll say it again because it's not yet here, marriage equality, disability rights, sanctuary cities, peace, pussy hats, President Obama, and the United States of America itself. It's an impressive list, no? It's incomplete too, and one of your homework assignments is to tell me what's missing, to add to that list. I want a laundry list of things that we can thank those folks for. But this list, and what I've been talking about, underscores the fact that America would be a far less decent and democratic place if not for the work of radicals and revolutionaries and reformers, resistors of all kinds throughout the ages, who have struggled to make real on the nation's professed values of freedom, equality, rights, and democracy.